Hello, I'm James Cridland, the radio futurologist, and this is Radioland, my weekly radio trends newsletter. It's sponsored by RSS.com, and if you're a fan of this, then why not get the ad-free version in Apple Podcasts? Just follow the links and the buttons, and you can get that. And thank you to RSS.com for making that possible. Kyle and Jackie O, let's talk about them again, because a new set of Australian radio figures were published last week. They are the first set of figures that don't include any of Kyle and Jackie O on KISS, so they are an interesting read. In Sydney, as you might guess, breakfast on KISS has nosedived from an average quarter-hour audience of about 90,000 to just 60,000, and that has led to no end of confident desk jockeys on LinkedIn claiming that people have just switched the radio off. But that's not actually the case. Because, as you'll see from the newsletter version of this podcast, you can actually see all of the average quarter-hour numbers. And actually, the total Sydney breakfast radio audience is up by 3% year on year. More people listening to the radio year on year, not less people. Incidentally, total AQH ought to increase year on year because Sydney's population grows by about 1.2% year on year. But this is an increase of twice that. In fact, the total AQH for Sydney breakfast, which is 652,000, is exactly the same as Survey 1 when Kyle was peddling his particularly puerile piss-poor prattle. Interesting that KISS's audience hasn't yet found an obvious natural home elsewhere, though. It's been spread between the other commercial music stations. If you compare Survey 1 to Survey 3, Triple M is up from 39 to 48, Gold is up from 47 to 55, 1,000 people this is, Smooth is up from 78 to 86, and Nova is up from 65 to 72. In fact, the one station that you would have expected to win today has lost audience. Now, I must admit, I've not used AQH before. It's not a number that's visible in the UK data, and it's not a number, therefore, that I've been particularly keen on using. But it's actually quite useful because, unlike Share, it gives you an absolute figure, and it's directly connected to time spent listening as well. I'm rather kicking myself for ignoring those numbers in the past. Another interesting comparison between Survey 1 and Survey 3 in Melbourne, the loss of Kyle and Jackie O has done nothing on the audience numbers. Survey 1, Kyle and Jackie's last full survey had an AQH of 37,000. Survey 3 is exactly the same. And over in Perth, the switch from AM to FM for ABC Radio Perth has given it an increase in share, 6.3 up to 7.1, which is encouraging, but not the massive jump that had probably been hoped for. Still early days. Also in Australia, the ACMA has released an update to how we watch and listen to content, which is its annual report, and it is fascinating. Here are the headlines if you're a fan of numbers. 64% listen to the radio per week, 72% listen to a music streaming service, 52% listen to podcasts. And if you take a look at radio listening over the last week, weirdly a slightly different number, 66% listen to the radio, I know. 53% are listening to FM radio, 20% listening to AM radio, 11% listening to DAB+, and just 8% listening to radio via the internet. Let's repeat that for those not paying attention. Just 8% listen to radio via the internet. But when you listen to the radio, the incessant promotion of the iHeart app or the ABC Listen app or the Listener app would have you assume it's much more. These figures are for all Australia. DAB+, of course, is only available within the capital cities. Elsewhere in Australia still, ARN apparently made 3 people redundant last week. The staffers used to work on the Kyle and Jackie O show, which went off air in February. It's June. At ARN's annual general meeting earlier this month, ARN announced that they'd lost $26.4 million of metro and regional revenues due to advertiser concerns about Kyle and Jackie O, aka the actions of the mad fudging witches, who ran a significant campaign against vile Kyle. There were red faces at ARN, though, after more than 90% of shareholders voted against the board's pay package. That is an unusually high number, and if shareholders do that again next year, all board positions must be put up for re-election. Ouch. ARN's share price is currently 22 cents. This time last year it was 50 cents, and 5 years ago $1.64. Its market cap is $67 million, which is slightly more than half a Kyle. My friends at Soundstack are running a webinar on June the 23rd, which is Tuesday, next Tuesday, 2 p.m. Eastern. The new sound of sustaining public radio will feature WBGO President and CEO Stephen A. Williams as he walks through how the station made the decision to add programmatic advertising, communicated the change to listeners, and what the revenue results actually look like. It's worth a peek if you would like to earn more money for your public radio station. Radioland reader Ash has sent me a very funny, 100% truthful documentary about Australian radio. It's very good. You should watch it. You'll find a link to that in the show notes, or indeed just go to radioland.email. If your studio equipment is looking a little grubby as well, I found a brilliant cleaning video to help inspire you as well. I'm sure it's all above board. And if you're having sleeping, I've also written a trip report of my flight from Brisbane to Kelowna and back. It's almost as long as the trip, so sorry about that. But anyway, you can read that. Again, a link from radioland.email for you. Where am I speaking next? Well, I'm not going anywhere until September, which is when I will be at Radio Days Asia, and so should you be. It's in Jakarta in Indonesia. I'll be keynoting on radio's international trends and its future in a keynote entitled The Future of Radio is Multi-Platform. No, it's not called that. It's called The Future of Radio is People-Powered. That's right. That's what it's called. The noise in the background, by the way, is somebody putting solar panels on my house. Just ignore that. And I'm also speaking at Podcast Movement in New York City, probably, which is September 14th to the 18th. Looking forward to that. Podcastmovement.com for tickets and for more information about all of that. Thank you to the many supporters of this podcast and of the newsletter. Play It Software, Radio.co, Soma FM, thank you Rusty, Brunn Audio Consulting and Admaster.info, and many others. Thank you also to personal supporters Dafydd Furnham, Marty from New York, Gavin Watson, Greg Strassel, Sam Phelps, Richard Hilton, Emma Gibbs, Jocelyn Abbey and James Masterton. If you would like to join them, you can support my work in any way you would like. Just buy me a coffee, become a member to give regularly, or just give a one-off coffee or $5. You can do absolutely that. Buymeacoffee.com/James Cridland is where to go. If you would prefer to get this in an email rather than in a slightly haphazardly recorded podcast, then that's fine. Radioland.email is where you can get that. I'm on Mastodon as james@bne.social if you're there as well. And my website has more details about who I am, what I do, and whether I can help you further. You'll find that at james.cridland.net. And until next time, keep listening.